Hey everyone, Gabriel Nassif, and today I'm going to be putting the spotlight on Pioneer Niv To Light, which is a 5-color deck based around the card Bring to Light, which is 5 mana. Pay a bunch of mana and you get a creature, sorcery, or instant, depending on how many different colored mana you paid. So ideally you want one of each mana, and you can search for a creature, sorcery, instant up to 5 mana. And what you're usually going to get is Niv Reborn, which gets you a lot of card advantage. You look at the top 10, you take gold cards, exactly 2 colors, one of each combination. And on average in this deck, it's going to hit 2 spells, sometimes more, sometimes less, but about 2 on average. You have some other key cards like a Sweeper and, sometimes Omnath, but mostly it's going to be Niv, a Sweeper, or the whole combo with Bring to Light is you can get Valky God of Lies, but cast the flip side, Tibal Cosmic Imposter, which is obviously a very powerful card, 7 mana, so you kind of cheat on mana a bit. So yeah, that's the deck that's been my go-to deck in Pioneer recently. I think the deck is tier 1. You've got Phoenix, you've got Red-Black Vamps. Recently, you've had the emergence of the mono-black heavy discard deck, was Waste Not. But I've enjoyed that deck. It's been good for me. I think it's fairly well-rounded, and it's pretty fun to play. It's actually one of my first Pioneer decks back when Pioneer was created. I started by playing some blue-white control, but then kind of Niv was my go-to deck back in 2019, 2020. Thanks to the magic of MTG Goldfish, I was able to go back in time and find, I think, the very first iteration of Niv I played back in the day. As you can see, you've got a Teferi that's still legal, Uro is still legal, and 27 lands, no Yorion, lots of RAM, 27 lands plus 4 Carroted, plus 2 Goose, plus a Paradise Druid. 4 Niv, back in the day, 4 Niv, 4 Bring to Light. So really trying to ramp into Niv. You had a little better cards, I guess, to bridge the gap. Typically, Uro and Teferi, very versatile. Can ramp you to a turn 4 Niv, etc. And pretty different targets. If you look at the cards we're getting, Uro is gone, Abrupt Decay is gone. Well, from my list, anyways, that card's still legal. No more Ragdos Return, Teferi's banned. I don't play Nahiri, I don't play Oath of Kaya, I play Unmoored Ego for Slaughter Games. No more Stellar Blaze as a sweeper. Stellar Blaze lined up really well back in the early formats against the mono black aggro decks and a lot of the aggro decks. But now between Slick Shot, the prowess creature that has more toughness and power, you've just got like many examples of spots where Stellar Blaze doesn't line up as well. And then Hour of Devastation, other ends got so basically all these cards are gone. I guess Talsinir survived, and most people don't even really play Talsinir anymore. I still do, but I'm not trying to correct. The sideboard also way different. Basically, not a single of these cards besides Mystical Dispute is in my sideboard right now. I also went back and found the last version I played of Pioneer Niv back in 2020. So the deck had evolved. I guess I still had a Goose and a Grazer. I'm kind of surprised. I'm not a big fan as the Goose for mana ramp. But yeah, once again, a lot of cards that are not in my deck these days. Up to 28 lands. Still the ramp, still the 4 Nivs, the 4 Bring to Light. You didn't even have Valky back then, right? Valky was not printed, so you didn't have that angle. But yeah, this is to kind of give you an idea of maybe how the deck evolved. Also went back to take a look at the top 8 of the player store in Brussels right before COVID. That was the list PV played to a top 8 finish in that tournament. He was the only Niv player in the top 8 and best performer was the deck. And he was I guess he was pretty high on the Goose, free Goose, still the Euros, Teferi was still legal. Fairly similar list. I guess the biggest difference would be playing free Goose. And how many lands total does it say, or do I have to count myself? Whatever. So yeah, the deck had good results. I think I ended up playing blue-white control in that player stores in Brussels to not even a day 2 finish, I believe. I was on the fence. I remember actually ordering cards for the Niv deck and kind of not trusting myself. I wish I kind of had. That was the turn on canister took by storm was Inverter before it got banned. But yeah, that was a little history of Pioneer Niv. Back to the current list, and I guess I need to give a shout out to Claudio H, a Magic Online player from Brazil, who's kind of kept that archetype alive for a while. He's a big fan. He's been playing the deck to good results, and I was never really sold, but I decided to give it a try again recently, and I've really enjoyed it. You've got some pretty cool new additions, the Ancient Cornucopia, which ramps you and can gain a lot of life. If you're lucky, you can play a turn 4 Niv and just gain 5 life of the Niv right away. I've been trying to max the Niv hits. One of the problems I had was one of my first lists and lists I net decked is that the Niv hits were pretty low. The reason is you've got cards like Omnath, even though they're gold, you can't get them of Niv. The sweepers that are good are Sunfall and Deadly Cover Up, and these are not Niv hits. You're playing Up the Beanstalk and Leyline to combo with your Yorion and as a companion, and I think these cards are a little too good not to play. I've considered maybe trying a version without Up the Beanstalk and Leyline, but these draws are just too good. I don't think that's feasible. Some lists have cut carried it, but most still play it. I still think it's an all-star. So yeah, I've been trying to max out the Niv hits, so I've gone down to 2 Omnath. I've gone down to only 2 Niv. I'm not playing the other Niv that gives your spell Retrace, I believe. And yeah, I've tried to do my best to max out the hits. I really like the Wandering Mind, which is not a card you see in every list, but it's been strong for me. And Fable, Ancient Cornucopia is other cards that I think are a little too good not to play. One that's more questionable is Bus Crusher, but I've liked that card. It's solid in a lot of matchups. It blocks well against Phoenix, even against Red Black Vamps. Is getting a creature land a decent sized blocker is nice. Obviously, its main use is against the Lotus combo deck. It gives you a chance in that game 1 matchup, which can be pretty tough, even though it's not always enough. I've actually put it into play getting a Lotus the other day, turn 3 or 4, and I still lost the turn after. So yeah, I've also done all over the top lately with main deck casualties of wars and the second in the sideboard. The downside is you can't get it with Bring to Light because it costs more than 5. But I made that choice to combat the Mirror, to combat the Waste Not deck, have some higher impact hits in the mid game with my Nivs. So yeah, very cool deck. Another change I made compared to a lot of the stock lists is I've cut all the check lands, the one that come into play untapped if you have only like a forest or a mountain into play, something like, I forget the names, but yeah, I've cut them all, and I'm basically playing only shock lands, the basics, the Fabled Passage, and Triumphs. No more mana Confluence either. I was just fed up of having Leyline Binding in my hand and it costing 4 free when it should, cost 1 or 2 at most. So I like that change, I think. Maybe you can still play 1 or 2 check lands. Maybe you can still play the 1 mana Confluence, but I've been pretty happy with this mana base, and I think it makes sense. Quick look at the sideboard. You see a lot of non-gold cards, and the reason are these cards are high impact. The other thing is against very aggressive decks, I feel like it's not as big of a deal if you don't hit on the Niv, because you don't need as much card advantage against very aggressive decks that's trying to kill you fast. The just 1 extra card or 2 should be enough, and that's why I'm pretty comfortable just having Fatal Push. I think Thoughtseize and Dispute just kind of like too good not to play. A lot of people play Thought Erasure or Soul Search over Thoughtseize. It could be okay. I'm not sure. I haven't played the deck as much as many, but yeah. Yeah, so that was the kind of the overview of the deck. Real quick, some of the top matchups against the Phoenix deck. I think it's really close. I think you're maybe slightly behind, maybe even. Haven't played enough once again, but I think against Phoenix and Vamps, you're fairly even. I've been making changes. I was actually struggling against the Vamp matchup, and even against regular red-black mid-range, I was a little surprised. And I feel like a lot of the changes I've made recently have helped a bit in that direction. Just trying to make the deck a little more consistent. I think the Lotus matchup is tough, but also evenish. I feel like that deck's just pretty solid across the board. I think you're slightly favored against a Waste Not deck. I think my experience against Amelia has been very good. I have maybe run HUD, but between Onward Eagle, all the removal spells, the sweeper, you even can play the Quake Bringer in the sideboard, kind of the anti-Amelia card. Your opponent can't gain life, they can't Fatal Push it, they can't get it with Skyclave. It's kind of hard for them to get rid of it, and you can tutor for it with Bring to Light. So yeah, just I think that's one of your good matchups. Against the super aggressive decks. I haven't played a ton against the red decks, but it's gonna be close. I don't think this deck is like incredible or anything, but it is fun. I do believe it is tier 1, and I've been enjoying it. So yeah, if you're looking for a Pioneer deck, highly recommend. You can customize it. You can even try playing 60. There's just so many card choices. Maybe you're playing in paper and you don't have all the cards, but you can kind of mix and match. Very cool deck, very fun. And if you want to check out some gameplay of this deck, I've played a lot on my stream, so you can head to my other YouTube channel, the one with the Twitch VODs, and check out that gameplay, how I've done, etc. But yeah, as always, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Take care.